Hey everyone, and welcome back to my Frequency Writer messages for September 2025. My name is Marie Mohler, and I'm an author, creative spirit, and a messenger of living a rich, inspired, authentic, and abundant life in ascension times as divine creative heroes. So here we are in September, and there are many themes coming through. I felt them actually pouring through a lot of August. As I tapped into that Lionsgate energy, we passed through the portal of the 8-8, and I felt the strength and the power and the insights and the intuition of Lion walking with me. So many themes were really emerging in the last few weeks that wanted to come into this month. And here we are, we're rounding the corner into September 2025. We're also rounding the corner into the last quarter of 2025. But specifically for the month of September, there are a lot of themes that I'm going to talk about today that you may be experiencing or that I want to seed in your awareness to empower you as we experience the shift and the changes and the potent waves of energy pouring through this planet and into our personal and collective lives. So September brings a season of remembrance. That's a theme that we're going to talk a lot about today. Also, it brings with it this energy of exploring Eve. There's a lot to the story of Eve and the garden that I feel like is my purpose and soul mission to keep bringing through. So we have a lot to explore with Eve and the garden. Also embodying that we are safe to be who we are. There's a lot of root chakra issues coming up for all of us in these ascension times. I think September will be no exception. We're going to experience more big changes that are going to tap away or hammer away or attempt to create enough noise and distraction to uproot our root chakras. It's important that we are aware and conscious of the choice to embody the knowing that you are safe to be who you are in these times. We're going to talk about that. Another theme is seeking and knowing truth beyond the din of 3D illusions, false narratives, and games. And then also there's these emerging epic ascension changes. We already know we are in this ascension decade. We are at this midpoint of the ascension decade. And the changes and the shifts pouring through this planet that are speeding up this integration into one time, into God's true timeline, leaving and exiting the 3D matrix. A lot of ascension is simply exiting the illusion, right? Stepping out of the illusion and all the ways that it engages our reactivity and those root chakra fears and shadows that we carry inside us. It's time to master the light in our root chakra so we can heal the shadows in our root chakra. It's an ongoing journey, isn't it? And then I'll be spotlighting some new soul songs that talk about these messages and themes. I also am going to be talking about some new frequency writer offerings. And then we will be reviewing vital divine creative hero traits and literacies that are necessary to rise and thrive in these times. So without further ado, let's take a look at the big picture review. So as we spotlight the frequencies and energies in September 2025, it is very clear to many of us that there are big changes ahead in almost every sector of life, in every aspect of our lives. That's personally, collectively, politically, financially, and spiritually, emotionally, on almost every level. There's changes ahead, and really there's changes within, right? So really, as within, so without, and as without, so within. So if there's a lot of changes going on externally, we need to be doing the inner work so that we bolster ourselves in the strength of the Lion Harbinger, right? The 8-8 Lionsgate. That energy is still with us if we'll call it in, and we call in our guides and our guidance systems and our soul selves that know that we are safe in all time. We are safe in God's timeline. Your soul is safe. We're going to talk about that. As Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker's book, Dare to Be Great, suggests, will we dare to embrace and embody our greatness in these times? of incredible and quantum shifts? Will you dare to embrace and step out in your greatness? Will the real you please stand up? Will the real gifts and soul skills you have, the greatness that you are, will that stand up inside you while there are the great shakings and quantum shifts occurring simultaneously in these times? It's a real question, isn't it? What will it take for you and for each of us to do the inner work to know that we are safe to be who we are? That's an inside job. It's not a pledge or a promise from anything outside of us. It's an inside job. It's an inside commitment. It's the work we do inside ourselves to revisit the garden, to revisit that fall from grace inside ourselves, to revisit the triggers and the stresses and the fear in our root chakra that was hit probably first when you as a soul fell from grace from the garden for the first time. We all have some energy, I think, trapped there. And that, to me, is what we are releasing now. I have had that experience. Like I said, most of August, I've been journeying this and bringing the awareness and the lessons I've been learning into September. I wonder if you have felt some triggers, some root triggers, some trauma triggers, right? Hammering away at those deep crevices inside you where your mind might say, no, we're good, we're fine, and try and shove under the rug the real work that needs doing. Right? This is that time that these things that are coming up, the big shifts happening on our planet in 2025, we have already witnessed and experienced so many shifts already. September's bringing more momentum, more steam, more amplification of that. These are root chakra issues, right? It's going into those crevices of where did you not feel safe after you left the garden because you may feel that the garden left you. The safety of the garden left you. That's the flip that the serpent made in the usurpation of God's creation. That's the flip that the serpent made when our egos became so prominent inside us, when we felt disconnected from our heart centers and disconnected from source after the fall. It's a big question. What will it take for you and for each of us to do the inner work, to know that we are safe? The allness of you, your soul self, is still in the garden. It never left the garden. The garden seed that you are has always been safe. That is something I retrieved in the last several weeks in the month of August, that I have always been safe. Even if my human self has not felt safe, even if my human self would have stories of experiences where my ego, my mind, my reactive self, right, my reactive human self could say, no, but this happened and this happened and this happened, and give dates and details and names of things that happened to my physical human being that I experienced here. But if we go back and we do the inner work to travel back to remembering life before the 3D matrix, life before the illusion story that we've been given about ourselves, that we are the descendants of Adam and Eve who sinned, who turned against God, who felt shame, right? Who were banished and exiled from the garden for the fall from grace, right? To experience that, to live out many, many lifetimes of separation. The serpent loves to give us that story again and again and again in so many ways, right? It's like hardwired, it would seem, into us and into those root chakras that don't feel safe. In some deep places inside us, there are places that still don't feel safe if we haven't done this inner work of looking and saying, what is the garden saying to me? What does my soul remember in the garden of life before the collective memories of being separated and scared and in fear and in my root chakra and in the shadow for so many lifetimes, right? The shadow of what I once was, a sliver of what I once was. Your soul self is here saying, you have always been in the garden. You have always been safe to be who you are. We have been perfect as our perfect original blueprint. We are safe in the garden because the garden is us and the garden is now. So what will it take for you to do the inner work if you don't resonate with this or feel like you haven't done this kind of work before? To know that you are safe to be who you are during these potent shifts in this Ascension decade, in this Ascension month, September 2025, in this Ascension quarter of the year, this last quarter of the year 2025. What will it take for you to do the inner work, to know that you are safe to be who you are, to know that you are safe in the garden frequencies as a soul that is eternal and infinite and cannot be harmed? What will it take to remember you, your soul light, in the garden, safe and perfect and whole and one with God's source and one with the Great Mother before any of the mess of this illusion and this fall from grace ever happened? Without our inner exploration and knowing of who we are as divine creative heroes and heroines, how can we feel safe to be who we really are? I think that the swift and potent changes of this Ascension decade have been designed to hammer away or trigger away at our root chakras, at the lower three chakras inside us, the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, right? To cause doubt, to cause the ego to say, wait, I'm here. I'm the Humpty Dumpty version of you who knows that I've had to pick up the pieces of you 1,000 lifetimes, 1,000 ways with 1,000 of your costumes. And I'm going to tell you it's not safe. Right? That we've never been safe. The ego has no memory of the garden. Remember, the ego has no memory of the garden. It was only that part of you that was usurped when the serpent, that biblical serpent, usurped the whole of creation to flip things way upside down and convince you that you were separated from God and you were unsafe in all kinds of ways. And there then came in the scarcity and the lack and the division and competition and all the things and the duality, all the things that keep us separated from ourselves, from source, from the mother, and from each other, right? In the garden, your soul knows the oneness of all things. In the garden, that is the true you before all of this 3D matrix story with a serpent in it at all. In the garden, you know beyond all of this, all of the stories that keep you separated from yourself and your soul skills and your mastery. That's who we want to tap into, the soul you that's still in the garden, that knows yourself as perfect and whole and safe, and that it's perfect and whole and aligned for you to be who you are, to be the greatness that you are, for you to dare to be great in these ascension times, as Terry said many, many times. And September may be just the thing that brings the right recipe of frequencies that has us going on that deeper exploration. And for me, August was really seeding a much deeper exploration of the things I'm talking to you about. I can say that I had some old fears and some deep crevices of deep fears, but that had deep beliefs, that had details and circumstances and data that I could say. There were reasons that I have not felt safe in this realm, in this life, and in many others. And then I remembered the truth beyond the stories, beyond the theater, back in my beginnings, in my origins in the garden. And I'm inviting you to tap into that as well. So with that said, safety and security and a lack thereof are big themes that I see rising and seeking our attention, our compassion, our healing, and our commitment to reclaim our strength, our divine superpowers, those soul skills, that clear soul sight, and our safety again. We are the reclaimers. We are the reknowers. We are the ones that will sift through the stories of our own past and find our way back to the root, the sum of all fears, where we believed that there was a fear to believe that we should fear. Right? We're going back to the original fear where we said, I am not safe. I am not loved. I am not protected. I am not guided. I am separate from source. I am separate from creation. The journey now is to commit to reclaim our strength, our divine superpowers, and our safety again that comes from reconnecting with who you are as a soul in God's creation, in God's grand garden that has always been safe. Do you feel that? That's a story beyond the stories that we've been given. We usually, if we do any of this work, we're going back into the layers of lifetimes where we have trauma after trauma after trauma. It's like a trauma exploration. What if there's a divine safety exploration? What if there's a divine awareness exploration, a divine remembrance? Remember, this is the season of remembrance in September. The opportunity is there to remember you as a soul before the fall from grace, who you are as a perfect Christ Sophia, soul being lit with that unified light. We get to choose to go back into the belief systems that gnarl around this truth of you beyond the fall from grace, back in the garden where there's only perfection, right? That's where the safety is our memories beyond the fall, our memories beyond the illusion, our memories beyond the theater and all the mess of stories and duality and division and fear and scarcity and everything else, and the kitchen sink that the serpent has thrown at humanity through the serpent's own efforts and then that of its minions. With that said, revisiting the garden is a big time theme I see for you, for me, and for all of humanity in these times. Many of us know that the narratives in recent months and years have been hijacked and manipulated and conditioned into humanity to control us and to steal our life force as well. Well, that playbook has been going on a lot longer than just the last few years or the last few decades. We have been manipulated since the garden, since the beginning. These are huge root wounds. And the garden needs our attention and our love now more than ever before. That garden, those seeds, they live in us. They are us. We are that garden. Some people say the mother. Some people say divine spirit soul. To me, it's the place. It's the soul. It's the light. It's God's grand creation. It's the mother. It's the returning to our essence as a living light within God's perfect creation. There are so many reverberating energies to all of that. But if the garden is the story that separated us, the garden to me is the story that unites us within ourselves first, which is why we want to go inside ourselves, commit to do the work of the inside job, the inner work, to embody, to dare to embody and embrace our greatness in these times as things are shaking up. What's shaking up is all the flawed stories of the garden that we've been given and seeded by whom? Who was the recorder of what happened in the garden? Who recorded that? Who told those stories? How was that all written down? There are question marks at the very least. I'm not trying to create any kind of disturbance or division here, questioning religious texts and all of that. I am saying those on the ascension journey back to the garden may need to question the narratives that we've been given about many things. And if we're questioning the narratives about lots of other things that we know may or we already know have been manipulated, then we need to question many, many aspects of human history, because I think there's a lot of lies and deception in the facts or the data we've been given, because the serpent's been here a very long time. That biblical serpent and its minions have been working overtime to control humanity with all of these manipulations and games and coercions and deceptions, all of it. So that said, if we have mastered the art of falling from grace and being separated and divided and in scarcity and lack and fear and all those lower chakra frequencies, right? If we've mastered the fall and we've mastered the getting lost, it seems to me with recovering truth and seeking unification with source, that we're going to be looking at a lot of aspects of the data and data points we've been given about history that may not be true. We're going to be reevaluating that in the searches and the quests of humanity to recover the truth, to re-know the truth. And I would put the garden at the top of the list, because if that's where we fell from, and that's how we got separated and we got here in the fear that we hold in our root chakra still from those trauma wounds, it's the return to the garden that weaves us back together in our Christ Sophia codes, where we are safe and perfect and whole as we are. We have been eternally safe and whole and perfect forever, right? We are infinite beings. The garden has lived within us the whole time. So the garden and those seeds live in us. We are the garden seeds, and we actually are the living garden. It's us. So as we revisit the garden, and that means exploring Eve, we're going to explore Eve's story. So as you know, I'll be offering many of my monthly messages that I do, and all the things that you've known me to offer through the years. And I'm also going to be activating a new paid subscription for people who want to take a deeper dive with me into some of these explorations, into the garden, into Eve, into our origins. And so we'll be spotlighting Eve as our great mother and her story and how it warrants this exploration and this new understanding, this recalibration. A lot has happened over thousands and thousands of years, but being willing to explore Eve and being willing to gain new understanding and being willing to seek truth at this level with a capital T, I am definitely called to be a messenger of that and a facilitator of that exploration and discussion. And so if you have interest, that is another way that we're going to be exploring Eve. And so I basically want to say in summary for the big picture review, September 2025 is a powerful and beautiful season of remembrance. Remembering the truth, capital T, the truth of the garden, the truth of divine creator source, the truth of our great mother, the truth of creation, the truth of our gifts, talents, and soul skills, and so much more. Things all connected to the truth, right? But September 2025 will also be a season of great change and a potency of frequencies, right? And intense noise and maybe some quaking and shaking up of revelations on a grander scale on the national or world stage. There's a lot that's going to be happening in September and through the remainder of this year and through the remainder of this Ascension decade for sure. So remember to ground in your conscious breathing, your faith, your fortitude, your awareness, right? Awareness is first preparedness, that and conscious breathing. And always, always, always remember to ground in your light, in your Christ Sophia codes, weaving back into one unified light that knows you as a soul home in the garden now. That is your safety, is in your knowledge, your gnosis, your awareness, your embodiment of your soul's essence and presence in the garden, which is the truth of you beyond this illusion and all the stories that go with it. That's where our grounding is coming from. It's coming from God. It's coming from source. It's coming from the garden itself. And remember, you are the garden. So it's not outside you. It's inside you. That's what's going to ground you in the big changes ahead, in my opinion. So we're going to gather at the river with Dr. Terry Cole Whitaker. I wanted to share with you just a picture of the copy of her book that I keep pulling quotes from each month. You may remember in the last couple of months, we talked about Terry's teacher, Violet, who she met when she was 17. And Violet was an answered prayer. We're going to talk about that in the first quote. So Dr. Terry's book is titled Dare to Be Great, 7 Steps to Spiritual and Material Riches. It was formerly titled Every Saint Has a Past, Every Sinner a Future. She talked about that a lot in some of our podcasts, and just to spotlight that, every saint has a past, every sinner a future. Every moment, every breath you take is a new moment, it's a new creation. Remember that. If you didn't like what happened yesterday or the last hour or the last minute, guess what? In the very next breath, in the very next moment, you have a fresh new life adventure right there. Don't dwell in all the frequencies and stories of your past, even a minute ago. If you can move forward with a higher consciousness and a greater integration and knowing yourself as a soul in the garden, and you choose the adventure in the garden where you are safe to express and be who you are, you could dare to be great and express and be who you are in the very next breath. So that is the book that we keep citing. There were many quotes from Violet, Dr. Terry's teacher at 17, who taught her those things. And what's interesting is I was reading the book, preparing for this video. Dr. Terry did say she met her at 17, that beautiful, divinely orchestrated summer. she gleaned all those beautiful wisdoms about the laws of the universe, right? And she connected with God in this answered prayer in all the ways that these connected all the dots for her. And then Terry went on, of course, to become the teacher of many of the principles that Violet shared with her. And then Terry added her own expanded understandings to the teachings. If you want to learn more about Violet's teachings and you didn't hear the previous messages, go to my Substack or go to YouTube and find Color the Magic, where you can see my monthly videos. And in there, we will be talking about the teachings from Violet that I have some screenshots in the slides in the presentation, and I'm discussing those. So the 2 slides that I prepared for today from Dare to Be Great, it's always a great invitation from Dr. Terry, timeless, right? It's a living teaching. Dare to be great. She said, Violet taught me the basics that became the philosophical foundation of my life. This summer was God's gift to me as the answer to my prayer. Beautiful, isn't it? Terry had been asking and seeking and looking, and I think she even says in the book, and we've probably discussed, she couldn't find God. I think she said to God, I have been looking everywhere for you, and I can't find you. I think you're going to have to find me. And God found Terry in a number of different ways over the years. And Violet, being in Terry's life when she was 17, was a huge answered prayer. Beautiful. So I want you to feel the energy of what Violet gave to Terry and what Terry gave to the world, and then feel this next quote. Terry says, we may never know the contribution we make to another. Whatever we contribute in love, besides blessing the receiver, blesses us even more. Blessings are reciprocal and magnified when we contribute from that heart space of love and good intentions for the good of all. That's what she's talking about. When we contribute from that place of soul that has always been safe, always been in the garden, always tapped in to union with Source and breathing in union with the Mother. That you, that soul essence you, when you contribute in that way, in love from the garden, in that way, in love from your soul essence as a perfect whole spark of God. When we connect with that kind of energy, we are seeding the garden again, and the blessings are reciprocal, the blessings are amplified, and the blessings are renewable. There's no limit to the blessings that we can receive. There's no limit. Okay, so the next 6 quotes are lyrics from the soul songs, from a few songs from last month and then also from this month. I really loved this particular lyric, the first sentence, and I needed, that's what started me making these slides actually, because I was just going to make a slide of just this one line. Every tear has a twin with a smile nearby. Your human self has a twin of the soul essence in you that has the smile nearby. Every tear that your human self may cry or may feel or may experience has a twin, your soul essence in the garden, with a smile nearby. You are the twins inside yourself. You are the Christ Sophia. You are the Adam and Eve. It's time to heal. It's time to weave. It's time. Every tear has a twin with a smile nearby. In the darkest pits, joy learns how to fly. It's a melody rising to kiss the sky. If you're in a dark pit, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling overwhelmed with the noise, if you don't understand what's going on, there's things that are going to be getting the attention of the higher consciousness inside you. Our soul selves are being summoned to assist our human selves with the ascension process that we're going through. Remember, your soul self is safe, perfect, and whole. It has always been connected with Source, never separated. It's your human self that cries the tears, that is run largely by the ego mind, that wants to run you and your perceptions and your reactivity in those ways. Remember, the ego is the Humpty Dumpty of our human selves that says, I picked up the pieces again and again and again, and we only have 3 options: fight, flight, or freeze. That's the ego's playbook. That's just what it has. It doesn't remember life before the fall from grace. It can only remember back to the most traumatic elements of your fall. you as a soul. It remembers through time and this lifetime for sure. When you were most traumatized, most upset, most stressed, most hurt, most sad, that's what it's going to replay for you. But each time your ego is crying those tears, which are valid, the human self must express and let that surface. Those tears are surfacing because your human self has many of them still probably trapped inside, linking back to that root chakra wound, right, where you didn't feel safe. But know that every tear that your ego self and your reactivity has to something in this 3D matrix, it has a twin from your soul, from your garden self, with a smile nearby, with groundedness nearby, with conscious breathing nearby, with your soul skills to transmute it nearby. Right there. Nearby is within. Nearby is within. Okay, the next quote comes from Laughter is Medicine again. So the chorus is laughter is medicine, laughter is fire. It lifts you higher, higher, and higher. A spark in the dark when you're feeling low. Laughter is remedy. Let it flow. Let it go. Like let laughter run through you. Let laughter be your flow, right? Let laughter be your medicine. I love that laughter is fire. It's also your sacral energy. It's your creationary energy. Laughter can create in beautiful ways. So we know that there are ascension times, and we know that there'll be triggers that want to take us low. And your ego will want to follow that lowest point. It's like water. The ego will go to the lowest point. Fight, flight, or freeze. That's its guidance of the Humpty Dumpty ego that wants to help your human self, which is going to help you nowhere fast, right? It's okay. You need to witness your ego self. You want to witness your human self having those low moments, being triggered, crying those tears. Acknowledge them, because it's been pretty terrifying for the human experience in this dimension. And then know that that feeling has a twin. It's the soul in the garden that you are, the seed of the garden that you are, that has always been safe, that has always been whole, that has always been wise, that knows how to transmute that. Okay, so the next quote is from a September song called The Garden We Left Behind. We'll listen to that today. But the lyrics go like this. We fell from grace, oh how we fell. The echoes ring like a distant bell. But now we rise, the veil is torn. Awake anew where hope is born. There's a lot of energy in the garden we left behind. There's a lot of regret. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of lamenting. There's a lot of looking back, right? And it's interesting. It's so fascinating because when we allow our clear soul sight to see multidimensionally, the garden isn't something that happened thousands of years ago. The garden is happening now. The true God timeline never left. It's here. Among all of our choices of timelines we can inhabit vibrationally, it's right here. And you have always been safe there. But your human self, if you can remember, and anyway, multidimensionally, of your wounds and traumas and your separation and feeling disconnected and divided and all the ways that we've been traumatized and that then our egos traumatize us again and again. The energies in the song, The Garden We Left Behind, speaks to that energy, speaks to that wound. We need to speak to that wound and then find the beauty in it, which I hope the song captures. Okay, the next song is called Wings of the New Age. It's also a song in September we're going to hear. Okay, reactivity is the cage of the old earth. Creativity gives birth to our rebirth. Wings to fly, wings to soar into the new age forevermore. We're going to talk about reactivity and creativity today in a deeper way. So I just wanted to plant those seeds in this slide for your wings of the new age, because I think we're getting ready to fly. Okay, the next song is called God, Patriots Rising. That's also a September soul song. The lyrics go as follows. We are God patriots, rising, shining, rebuilding dreams, the stars aligning. Truth is our banner, faith is our flame. We are the ones who remember the name, right? We remember the name of Source, right? We remember the name of the garden. We remember Eve. We remember what it means to be God patriots, bigger than political party affiliations, bigger than clubs or groups or memberships or communities or whatever we might have allegiance with. In a broader sense of belonging to a grander cosmic community, we are a community of God patriots. To me, that is the kind of community that I am ready to participate in, that I've been participating in, and I invite you to consider participating in as a God patriot. Okay, this quote comes from lyrics from We Light Our Own Candles. That was from August. We light our own candles in endless streams, awake in the wonder of limitless dreams. The old falls away, the new takes flight. Together we kindle eternal light. That's you. That lighting our own candle is lighting the candle, the Christ Sophia codes of you in the garden that's now. It's now. We light our own candles and return to the garden. We light our own flame. The old falls away, and it's ultimately going to reveal that there's only one timeline, the God timeline. All the other timelines and all the other parallel realities all have led to this one moment, this one timeline, the true creation of God, the true timeline of God, right? And so how can we get there? We go within, we consciously breathe, we ground in our faith, we tap into our fortitude, all the soul skills we've talked about for a long time here. And remember, who lights your candle? You. You light your own candle when you connect with the garden. You light your own candle when you're willing to retrace some of your soul steps, not to relive trauma, but you go back and you imagine where it was, where you fell from grace, some of that trauma energy, and what's holding you back from leaving the storybook of the 3D illusion of who you are and who you've been. And you remember further back to you as soul, as the garden's essence, as the garden seed who has always been safe, always been whole, and always been in the oneness. Okay, and the last quote is from a September soul song called The Great Awakening. And the lyrics are as follows. The great awakening is here, illusions shatter, crystal clear, courage burning, faith is bright. We came for this. We own the night. We came for this. So important to remember that. You came for this. You wanted to participate with these songs. You wanted to remember the garden community. You wanted to remember yourself as a God patriot through all timelines, right? A God warrior, a God patriot through all time, knowing the one and only true timeline of God, God's creation. That's you. You came for this. We came for this. Powerful. Okay. So now I have a video of the Garden Insights number 5 for September 2025. Let's have a listen. Let's take all that we've been talking about. The garden seeds are you. Your safety and eternal light and eternal oneness with God and wholeness with the Great Mother and the Christ Sophia codes. It's all in you as a garden seed of the garden. And all of that is you. It's your light. It's your essence. It's your presence, and I'm grateful that you're here now to hear Garden Insights number 5. Greetings, and welcome back to the garden frequencies that your soul remembers and knows well. When we gather, we are here to remember, re-know, reclaim and re-embody our integrated Christ Sophia light of the garden, the Adam and Eve union expressed in our physical body temples and our mind-body-spirit holistic awareness. So let us take a deep, divine, conscious breath in together and remember the light of the sacred garden again. Let us breathe together and know that we are not separate from an elusive garden that we have been told turned its back on us and turned away from us. But rather, we have always been one with the garden, carrying it within us wherever we go, in whatever timeline, in whatever experiences we have journeyed, and where we are presently on the planet and in our consciousness now today. We are the light of the sacred eternal garden that was gifted to us by our beloved divine creator source and our beloved earth mother, who know us only as their divine, perfect, and beloved sacred children. So let us take a deep divine conscious breath in again for this remembrance code, for this remembrance frequency of light that we are God and the Great Mother's perfect blueprint of creation, and we are their child, a soul of their sacred union in the grandest of creations. Let us breathe and know we are this light. Yes, we are. Breathe in the knowing of the power, beauty, and magnificence of the sacred light that you are. And let us together breathe in the knowing and the embodiment of this sacred light that we collectively are. We are here in the season of remembrance. Ascension, and this whole Ascension decade from 2020 to 2030 is one grand season of divine remembrance. And Eve is here seeding our return to the garden. The garden lives in us. The garden lives in our highest and purest light. It may have been obscured by illusions that the false matrix of a 3D earth have supplanted in us. But God's seed, the garden seed, the seed of God and Gaia's union in pure and perfect creation, lives in you. It lives in me. It lives in all of the souls that originated from God's original divine blueprint in the garden. Your remembrance now in the season of remembrance is an activation that guides your inner map and journey home. So let us take a deep, divine, conscious breath in for that remembrance. That we are garden seeds of the grand Garden of Eden. So we can truly cherish in every single conscious breath our ability to refine and direct our divine attunement and attention back to the garden, while all of the noise, all of the distractions, all of the stress, and all of the patterning that usurped the creation of God has attempted to stamp us with is playing out. That patterning in the face of God's frequency within us, in the face of the true Garden of Eden and our divine garden seed blueprints, can't hold. It carries no truth. It has no power over garden seeds awakening and responding to the summonings of the great Mother Eve and the grand Mother Earth. We are Christ Sophia garden seeds returning to Eden, the land of Adam and Eve, the sacred garden of Christ Sophia light in form. We are union. We are that divine wholeness. We are that perfection. And we are safe, welcome, and loved in the garden frequencies now, forever, and always. The 3D matrix is struggling to maintain its composure now. The illusion of 3D reality is deeply challenged to do the very basic of things in true creation, which is to be real. The movie sets and theater stages in the 3D matrix, in their own ways, are crumbling. Fiat currencies that drive the global financial infrastructure and payment pathways are losing purchasing power. Many government and world leaders of countries, and also many in the entertainment industry that people have looked up to, idolized, believed in, trusted, and gave their hard-earned money to, are being exposed for rampant corruption and other toxic crimes. God's true creation, God's true money, God's true blueprint for manifesting a beautiful, pristine, harmonious, sentient earth and humanity is rising. It is outshining the illusions. It is outpacing the darkness's attempts to conceal, deceive, control, and coerce a sleeping humanity. In this much ascension light, humanity cannot sleep any longer. And all sentient life is awakening to the return of the garden. The garden is rising in each and every single one of us. It is felt in your conscious breathing. It is felt in your inner knowing that knows beyond anything that the illusions and noise of the 3D matrix wish to tell you about you and who you are and what this world is. Lies cannot withstand the scrutiny of divine and absolute truth. Deception always falters in the face of God's supreme frequencies of truth. And that is what we are seeing, sensing, and feeling right now. The choice is ours as to whether we will join the dismay, the fear, the overwhelm, and the tension that duality and cognitive dissonance seed in our garden temples, clouding our judgment, vision, and discernment, or whether we will allow the living light of the Christ Sophia codes within us to know the truth of the garden's return as more gets exposed and crumbles around us that is not of God and never was God's divine design. Along with that choice we each are facing in every moment now as to what we will empower with our frequency and with our attention, we also face the choice of whether to react or to create. Notice that the very same letters and thus creationary sounds make up those words. So the core sounds in the vibrational commands to the universe, to creation, in those words are the same, but the experience and manifestation of those sounds are two totally different paths and realities. One leads to the garden, one leads back to the dualistic loop of the 3D matrix's games and tricks. So take a deep conscious breath in right here and now, and focus on feeling the frequencies in the word react. How does it make you feel? How does it feel in your mind's eye or in your heart's awareness as you say that word internally or out loud? Is reactivity a frequency that you have experienced? How does that word's energetic essence feel in your body? How do you feel in your life when you react to negative situations or stress? Does it support you to thrive as the divine spirit soul you truly are? Or does it spiral you into lower frequency thoughts and behaviors that often lead to regret, guilt, or shame, which dull the organic shine of God's great garden seeds every time? Now I will invite you to take a deep conscious breath in right here and now and focus on feeling the frequency in the word create. How does it make you feel? How does your body feel this frequency of the word create and creativity? How does your heart feel and know it? Is it an octave that you notice that is markedly different than that of the word react or reactivity? Both words have the exact same building blocks of creationary sound in their letters. But when the letters and thus sounds are ordered in a certain way, they lead to two very different paths. How do you feel in your life when you create in all the situations of your life, whether in joy or inspiration, or even through negativity and stressful triggers? How do you feel the word essence and specifically the sacred sounds of the word create in your body, your heart, and your conscious awareness? Do you feel lifted, elevated, and raised up in higher frequencied potentials of God's goodness, wholeness, and deep soul alignment when you choose the path of creativity, which breathes life and light into whatever it is you are doing, feeling, and experiencing? What a difference two words can make in the life of a divine creative hero. What a difference conscious awareness of the power to choose makes in the life of a divine creative hero. All throughout the world's sacred texts, we are given example after example of duality, starting with male and female, Adam and Eve, good and evil, light and dark, love and hate, etc. Our stories given to us in many sacred texts through many authors through centuries and centuries of time show us again and again the biblical serpent's usurpation of creation and polarity into divisive dualities where one must win and one must lose. Duality and separation and division, etc., may be the weapons of the biblical serpent's version of reality, but unity, wholeness, and oneness are themes of God's grand and true creation. We are here now to awaken to the truth of the grandest of distortions throughout history and throughout time as we know it. For when we awaken to the usurpation of words and literally language, the word, we are given an ancient map to find the essence of illusion in any aspect of our lives, and also to find the essence of absolute truth in any aspect of our lives and life on earth as well. Humanity has a great awakening and a great reawakening unfolding around us and within us. A garden of truth, light, and knowing lives within all of us. We know God's perfect blueprint because we are God's perfect divine blueprint. Yet God's original Garden of Eden was tampered with, and the records of the tampering have been hidden, obscured, altered, and destroyed to wash away the evidence of the absolute truth of God and God's creation in our collective humanity. I believe in this time of revelations, and this time of the Great Awakening, and this time of the Grand Ascension, we are being gifted many opportunities and paths to choose to pull back the curtains on the illusions and to reveal the truth of God within and all around us. The garden never left us. We are that living, timeless garden, each one of us. And Eve is seeding our remembrance. Eve is a divine messenger from God, here to brilliantly, gracefully, and lovingly guide us home to the garden we remember, to the truth we remember, to the knowings we remember. The story of Adam and Eve may not be exactly as we have been taught. Just as many aspects of history that we have been given through time may not be exactly as told. Just as many aspects of our current world events may not be exactly as they are or were portrayed or presented. The biblical serpents, darknesses, occupation, and usurpation of God's true creation is coming to an end. We are in the time of that great closeout, the end of a demonic cycle of time where humanity has largely been kept in the dark about the real agendas and activities of that demonic serpent and its minions. But truth has a way of rising and setting all life free in the clarity and light of God's pure frequencies. The Great Mother is ready to rise again in our lives. The Christ Sophia light, gnosis, and wholeness within each of us are ready to rise and live in union and divine expression again. Polarity in divine creation works together in harmonious balance for the best and greatest of outcomes for individuals and the collective. Duality in usurped illusions works against opposing forces to seed destruction, fear, division, and confusion for individuals and the collective. Reactivity fuels and feeds the games of duality that the false 3D matrix and paradigm is built upon. Creativity frees us from the 3D matrix and empowers us to manifest and create beyond the confines of linear time, seeding a new world of light for humanity and all sentient life on this world. Noise will increase in the final quarter of 2025. Exposures and disclosures will be amplified. The ancient spiritual battle for the heart and soul of the earth and all life here is rising to be seen and known in the hearts of all in this time of the Great Awakening. Those who choose conscious breathing, union with Source, knowing the garden, and embracing creativity are empowered to create calm and goodness through and beyond the storms unfolding. Those disconnected from their divine skill sets may unconsciously choose or act out reactivity and reactively, for that is the main pattern of duality and emotionality that they know. Ground in what you know. Claim your sovereignty beyond the 3D matrix through conscious breathing and divine source union. Remember how truly loved, appreciated, and protected you are by the Great Mother who knows your heart and your soul and your divine sacred blueprint. You are loved more than you may remember. You are cherished more than you may know. You are free and more divinely powerful than you can yet feel. And yet absolute truth has a way of prevailing and manifesting it as so in times of great awakenings and times of grand ascensions. You are a divine creative hero seeded with Adam and Eve light codes, inspired from within to consciously breathe your Christ Sophia unified light into your life, your expressions, your choices, your thoughts, behaviors, and actions now as you contribute to your personal and collective experience of the Great Awakening in the time of the Grand Ascension and epic revelations. Will you breathe the light of truth of God's grand garden as a seed of the original creation story and as a creator of the grand creator in these incredible times? September 2025 will summon more garden seeds of light, the knowers of union and unified light, and the daughters and sons of Adam and Eve to embody and ground in your perfectly blueprinted light and life force as more shakeups of the old 3D matrix and false stories and histories come to light, and as more truth comes to light as well. A great reckoning is unfolding. What will you choose to empower and embody as storms of revelations and activations of truth with a capital T emerge? Creativity is God's essence in you, reminding you of all that you are, all that you know, and all that you came to be in these times. For creative souls create with Eve, create Eve. Creatives, unite with the Great Mother's energy to lead with light and seed what is good and holy in the world again. I am honored to create and seed the light with you in these times. Remember that together we rise. Wow, so many beautiful messages that really integrate so much of what we've been talking about already today for September, the month of September, this last quarter of the year, this midpoint of the Ascension decade. We are called back to remember the garden. September seeds the season of remembrance. I believe if you're here listening to the message, you're either on the cusp of beginning to remember or you've been remembering, because these are such strong and beautiful and consistent messages that have been coming through for some time, for many years really, but more specifically in the last couple of years. So thank you for listening to the Garden Insights number 5. I wanted to return just a moment. I wanted to make sure you could see this. In the word reactivity, it mirrors the word creativity. Same letters rearranged in a different sound melody, perhaps. And you have two totally different paths. If you choose reactivity, that's a timeline. If you choose creativity, that's a different reality and a different experience. I want to be mindful of this because reactivity is being led from the ego mind and the emotionality that the ego's emotionality generates or emits that causes that reactivity and all the explosiveness or stressfulness or overwhelm that creates, right? And then there's creativity is the other choice in that pairing. And when you breathe as a divine conscious creative hero, right? When you breathe in as a quantum co-creator with source, when you breathe in as a garden seed of light that has always been safe, always been whole, always been in the oneness with God, you never left. You're an eternal being. You've always been there, right? You create differently. You create from a much higher vibrational octave, and it changes outcomes instantly. Powerful, powerful. Remember this. And then as I was reflecting on reactivity and creativity in the slide I had in the Garden Insights where I had reactivity or creativity, it occurred to me that those are on the same wave, right? They're on the same sound wave of potential, of sounding into form this experience. You can choose the lower part of the wave and go into reactivity from your ego mind and all the weaponry and ammunition that wants to fire off to protect your wounds inside. Or you can empower your creativity and be on the upper end of that wave, right? It's all one wave of creation, really. It's all one wave of creation. And you're the author of your experience. You're the creator of that experience, whether it's going to be in the reactivity timeline with your ego, or whether it's going to be in the creativity timeline led by you in the garden, your soul essence. Beautiful, isn't it? Okay, this is the same slide as you've seen before, just reiterating the divine creative hero and heroine's journey creation process. I didn't update the slide, but just always a good reminder. There are 8 core soul traits that the divine creative hero, as I have identified them, has within their innate sovereign blueprint. And then I also spotlight 8 core literacies that the divine creative hero is mastering, remembering, re-knowing in ascension times, right? And those 8 core soul traits are vital to reclaiming our divine creative hero's sacred literacy and basically our soul mastery through time. We are re-meeting ourselves. This is a divine convergence within ourselves. The Christ Sophia codes coming all the way home inside us and weaving back together as that garden seed, that soul from the garden, right? That has always been safe and always been whole. So all of these 8 and 8 soul traits and literacies are critical for the journeys that we're in now in these ascension times. So what I did is I took the Garden Abundance Wheel. I think I might do this each month, and I'm going to spotlight the 8 core traits that the divine creative hero has within them that we're mastering, we're remembering, we're experiencing and expressing that I think are going to help us with the main themes of the month. To me, I think we're going to need to tap into our courage, the bravery to follow our divine path, attracting opportunities for growth and plenty. Our joy, we want to tap into our joy, the vibration of joy aligning with the garden's abundance and drawing in blessings, right? We want more blessings and less stressings, right? Number 3, gratitude, a mindset of gratitude, amplifying abundance by appreciating what we have already. Dr. Terry and I talked a lot about that in our podcast together. You can find those in the archives. Okay, and the last one, resourcefulness. We're going to definitely need to tap into that resourcefulness, the ability to use tangible assets, real assets that are from God's creation, right? We want to look to that. Gold, silver, digital currencies wisely, supporting conscious exchange and the new conscious ecosystem of the new Aquarian age. So those 4 core divine creative hero traits, we can express those, we can tap into those, we can summon those. Courage, joy, gratitude, and resourcefulness, I think, are going to have more time in the spotlight as we journey through September and the big changes that we're going to go through next month. And then in the Eden Awakening Wheel, where we're talking about the divine creative hero's literacies or masteries, we're always reflecting back to the garden. That's my language. But when you're listening to some of these messages through me, Frequency Writer, you're going to hear about garden literacy. Okay. It is the divine creative hero's journey itself, home to the garden. Remembering the story of the garden, the fall, and the journey back to our divine wholeness that we've always been safe, always been whole. Our creative sovereignty, we're reclaiming Eve's visionary life force and Adam's structured blueprint. The two of them are creationary together to create authentically and free from the serpentine control. The third literacy and mastery I think we're going to be using or accessing or summoning is our intuitive trust. Trusting our own intuition and divine guidance as Adam and Eve did in the garden. I believe they truly did in the garden, and I think we're going to uncover and unearth and rediscover more of the truth of what they actually did. At some point, we will know more of the truth of their story. I think we are tapping into our own intuitive trust with the Adam and Eve frequencies inside us, transforming or reuniting with the Christ Sophia codes inside us that have strong intuition, right? That have mastered our intuitive trust. And then the other literacy and mastery of sacred discernment, discerning truth in the illusion. Truth from illusion, seeing the serpent's lies, the biblical serpent's lies and manipulations, and then aligning with divine truth. Those are the 4 core literacies and masteries I see playing out largely in our stories this next month in September 2025.